Alright then, people. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, and the other 500 pronouns I don't know or care enough to learn. Welcome to the video documentation of me building a kit PvP server. Now, you may be wondering, Stevie, why should we care? No one cares. I care. I'm doing this for my own mental sanity. Because this, oh boy, this is going to drive me insane. I've been doing some audio tests and I don't know why everything's really quiet. But it is. I don't care enough to fix it, in all honesty. So, yeah. Basic concept for the thing is, though, this is sort of like a small scale model that's going to be buried underground, probably. Why am I building this in a normal? Well, it's a simple reason. I'm fucking lazy. All of these are built in, like, fucking super flats anyway. Just usually the people have it, know how to use World Edit, and I don't. And so, grand idea is you have this big castle in the center with a long dead demon in it, and it's gonna look sweet. And it's not at all gonna suck like the other 7 I built and never showed off, and the other 15 I worked on and then was never used. I've spent far too long on working on these servers and they never get used, and it's really grinded me down to the last nerve, if I don't mind me saying. So yeah, this is documentation of me working on it as it goes. As it goes, this video series is going to be really boring. It's going to be really boring and no one's going to care. But it's here. And it's being recorded, and that's all I really care about, because otherwise I'm going to go insane. And this also is like more of a way for me to jot down my feelings as this goes on. Because, you know, working on this for nearly 10 hours a day is going to do stuff to my... It's definitely going to have some consequences to my mental sanity, to my mental state, evidently. As it goes on, it's probably going to get progressively worse. Can't joke about that. Yeah. So there's that. Alright, now that we've got the general plan of why these recordings are online, let's introduce ourselves, shall we? Oh, you go say some words, audio. The person who's watching this, to one of the 7 people who subscribe to me. Poor souls. Yeah. Here's a fun fact. I can't hear a word you're saying. It's just a pantomime. Anyway, let me introduce myself then. My name's Stevie Donny, formerly known on YouTube as King of Fire, all of it. I changed it because it was cringe and I hated it. I'm good friends with the... And I'm sure some of you may better know me as, on Discord, XXX, I wanna die XXX. You know, the funny guy who goes into servers and spams the N-word and gets banned within 5 seconds, because that's peak comedy, really, isn't it? Haha, racial slur, funny. It's funny. It's funny because you couldn't say it, and that's my sense of humor. It's like, people go, oh, you shouldn't say that word, and it's like, all you're gonna make me do is say it when I say it more. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of theory in medicine, or something of the mental understanding of people. And if you like tell someone not, like, tell a kid, don't do that, the kid will do it. Why? Kids like that. The human nature is like that. We don't exactly know why. But it is what it is, and you can't exactly change it without changing a lot of people. Evidently, I'm sure I know a lot of people who, if they could change that about people, would jump at the chance to. I am not one of them people. I think humanity's pretty screwed as is. And, might as well live with it for the time being. I mean, some of the stuff we do is pretty funny. Some of the stuff isn't. Like, racial injustice and other political things. I'm reading off the Good Boy Points book I got from the leftist convention. If I say certain things in a video, I get Good Boy Points. And then I get Good Boy Twitter points, and then I get Good Boy Twitter points, and then all the leftists endorse me on their Twitters as, oh yeah, that Stevie Donny guy, he's woke, he knows. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know, alright, this is written down here. let me get the book. You can't hear it because my microphone's pretty good. But it says, "And oft thou be the YouTuber who subscribes to the leftist way of thinking. Thou must always go off on one about racial injustice in any landscape and any context. Whether it concerns you or not, because you are white, and you're only doing this for a moral obligation, because you think black people need help with stuff, because I mean they just can't be left to their own devices. That's clearly your way of thinking." And there goes my Twitter standpoint. So yeah, this is more of an audio log. So general consensus. This is being audio log 1, and this is going to be me working on the outside of the castle in segments. I intend to terraform it a lot more than it is, but I'm currently just working on the front entrance. You see, in a lot of builders, they use green concrete to create dirt without that texture pack you see all the ones used where the dirt goes down and stuff, and it looks, it's fine, it does what it does, and it does it pretty well, but you know, it looks a bit, but without that, dirt has that weird texture on the side, like here. So I've just used some warped warp block to create that, to get rid of that effect, that really ugly, annoying effect that always happens for some reason. Now, here's another fun block choice, bedrock. Everyone knows bedrock. I mean, you go down far enough in Minecraft, you'll find that eventually. I don't want to use it in builds, because it looks ugly. No one wants to admit to using bedrock in a build. Unless you're like on some sort of like anarchy server, which in that case that's like, oh, look at him, he's got bedrock. You know what I mean? That's like on Java, not obviously on bedrock Minecraft servers, everyone has bedrock. If you don't have bedrock, you're doing something wrong. I think maybe the least of the things you find on those. You find like red obsidian and stuff in bases, and that looks really cool, and I don't know how the commands work, because I don't have a hack client. Because I don't really play on anarchy servers much. Anymore, anyway. I used to frequent them, actually. I met a few good friends on those servers. And it's a shame, really, that not a lot of people play on them. Because everyone thinks, oh, I'm just going to buy Java and play on 2b2t and die constantly and just watch FitMC and stuff. No cons to you, by the way, FitMC. Yeah, sure you're right. Fine, gentlemen. I just don't like your content. It's fun, but, like, you're very hyper. I'm sure like, I don't trust what you're saying sometimes, because like, I don't think that, you know, for example, let's take some of your older content. Pop Bob, for example. I don't think he's some sort of immortal god who just knew where every build was. He's probably just a guy who took advantage of a thing and struck fear into the people on the server, and that's effective, evidently, is he's left a message. And he had one of the more simpler skins, like mine, which is and yeah, there's a simplicity and a beauty to it, I will admit, but it's very much campfire stories, which is fine, really. I don't mind them. That's why Herobrine's popular. It's a campfire story. No, he wasn't real, or was he? Ooh, yeah, he wasn't real though, and yeah. So these videos are going to be like 10 minutes. I'm probably going to cut out a lot of the rambling of myself while I'm building to sort of create intersessments, but I might say some funny stuff. So for most of this, actually, I'm spitballing ideas at the wall, at myself. You got to get that viewer integration up. You got to say stuff that the viewers like, otherwise YouTube's not going to promote your channel. What's that? So this is sort of the front wall. I intend to bring it round a bit more for the entrance, because it's meant to be... There's actually... I want to bring it round a bit more while I'm building the entrance, because that's something that you can use very interestingly. To add some movement into the build. So, and I don't mean as in like the redstone making it move, but I mean as in like it moves with the landscape, can create some interesting effects that makes your build stand out more. But you don't want to make your build stand out too much. You know, if you want a build to stand out, you can colour it in pink and orange concrete with the wool. It's not going to look good. You could do something with the orange and the pink. Maybe you could make it work, because they do contrast in colour theory. But it takes a lot to make it work nicely, if you know what I mean. And actually, I'm going to be using a lot of colour theory while I'm building this as well. That's why I've done the outside as warped nylium, because it contrasts well with what is going to be the interior, which is going to be mainly a lot of red nether brick and stuff. The walls here are only built out of blackstone, because this is meant to be built into the terrain more than anything else. So, yeah. Actually, I was thinking about doing a Minecraft Let's Play. Like one of the classic ones, not like the newer ones where it's like 10,000 mod packs and YouTubers you know. I mean, as in the way we all start. It's a YouTuber no one knows with 7 subscribers. God bless the 7 subscribers I have at this point of recording. And he's just tooling away, and every day he uploads content. That's like the simple sort of life. Obviously, you know, that doesn't really work now. You've got to be a really hyperbole sort of guy. You've got to pronunciate every word 500 times over in the audio recording thing, which I probably will do myself. But there's sort of a charm to it. Just this small sort of YouTuber who just does his own thing. This is not me sucking myself off, by the way. And you know, with the 7 people, like I might set up a Discord server for myself. I don't know. And it's one of those you may never know when it comes to this sort of stuff. Hell, I might just leave these unedited and upload them. See how that works. Because then I get viewer retention, so you guys can sit there and listen to me ramble about stuff you don't care, you wouldn't care about normally. But the YouTuber I watch says it a lot, so, you know, there's that. So how am I going to do this cliff? So basically, the general consensus is the build's in 3 layers. You have this layer here, which is sort of where the outer area is going to be, where the people are fighting and stuff. But there's also going to be entrances, which is what I'm building out here. This is sort of going to be an entrance area into the thing. So, now, building an entrance for these servers is very grandiose. You have to work out a floor plan. And that's what I intend to do here. Now, of course, the entrance, this being based off a lot of, like, sort of like D&D, when you picture Evil Tower in D&D sort of stuff. A lot of red and a lot of black sort of, because the new nether blocks I think are great. You see some people complaining about them and stuff, the planks for example, I hate, but they look really cool and you can do so much with them. And no one's going to deny that. Like, I want to use, for example, I want to use a lot of blocks that you wouldn't see normally be used. If, for example, bedrock, I'm using that. I'm using warp nylium to terraform with. Those are blocks you don't see. And I think, personally, that's how you make a build stand out. If you can take blocks you don't normally see, because I'm going to be using a lot of mycelium in this. If you can use mycelium in a good way, you can make mycelium look good. That's the, you know, the knowledge of some. You can say to yourself, oh, he knows what he's doing when it comes to this sort of stuff. That goes for anything. You can make any block work with, like, basic colour theory. But then you've got to detail it, and that's really when you can tell, oh yeah, he's good. You know, I like, maybe, say for example, you, the viewer, yeah, you, I just pointed then, you watching this, right, boot up Minecraft, and get up a super flat world, and look at your house. Now, you could be anyone, right, but I'm going to take a bet your house is mainly made out of wood and stone. No one's going to say those blocks look bad. Maybe you live in a desert, maybe it's made out of sandstone. Maybe you live underground and the whole thing's made out of stone. They're like the general sort of thing. Now, go find a block which contrasts. You know, you can look at a colour wheel, or you can just pick a block in general. Say, for example, you have mainly a wooden house. Your house is mainly made out of wood, and that's about it. You based it off the landscape and what's surrounding it, and it looks nice. It's a cosy little cottage with a little stone chimney on top if you want to have a look at the advanced aesthetics. Maybe it doesn't even have a stone chimney on. Maybe you just threw it together on your first night. And never changed it since because it was good enough. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go out. I want you to go copy that well. Bear with me for a second. Go find a block which contrasts. A block you wouldn't normally use. Say you don't like using gravel, for example. Who doesn't? Gravel looks ugly. Go get some gravel. Go into that stone bit of that house and mix a bit of that gravel in the lower parts or the higher parts. Now, depending on how you've mixed it, it's either going to look like shit or it's going to look really good. You know, But best bet is it's gonna look good. All things tend to look good in the ending of it all. You see, it. Who was it? Bob Ross who said something like this, right? Anyone can paint, but yet people are called painters when they're good at it. You know, I'm very much of the opinion anyone can build. I might make like a Bob Ross-esque YouTube series if my channel just blows up. Which is like me, when you can listen to my very annoying, very not at all soothing voice talk about building and theory and all that good stuff. Because, you know, I do study art. Of course, I'm not calling Minecraft an art form like watercolour, which I love, by the way. But I'm saying it takes skill. But you can put... But, you know, with enough practice, anyone can paint a picture that looks nice. And, you know, when it comes down to this sort of stuff, it doesn't particularly matter if the person next to you who likes... Say you like acacia wood, and you're building a mesa platter. You're going to use a lot of acacia, you can use some red sandstone. That would contrast nice. The guy next to you might not like acacia, or he might not like red sandstone. But what he does like, for example, could be, I don't know, a blue block, for example. If you can highlight that with some blue, that's going to look great. But he still might not like it. And as long as you're happy with the build, and you like the way it turned out, who gives a fuck? I mean, seriously. Why should you care? It's your build after all, you built it. You were the one who slaved over it for hours. The guy next door might just follow the building tutorial. I mean, it has its own merit in its own right. I mean, obviously the building's not his originally, the person who made it, and I'm not slanting them. What I'm saying is, like, building takes a bit of effort. It takes a lot of effort, actually. You'd be surprised with how long it takes to make a nice looking build. So, like, you know, and you get people on servers, they go, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that, you should change that. But it's like, who asked? No, maybe that person who built it might like it. And if they like it, that's fine. You know, it's like, one of them sort of things. It depends on person to person. Like, I was talking with a friend of mine who plays this game a lot. And I was showing him around the world I have on console. And he's like, oh, I could build this in a few hundred years. You know, you did this in 2 months? I couldn't do that in 5 years. And I'm like, oh, well, let's have a look at one of your worlds. And he goes, well, let's just show off. And I'm like, come on, can't be that bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad. No offense to him, obviously. But he was happy with it. He said, I like that. And I said, ooh. If you're a good builder and your friends are bad at building, don't brag about it. Give them some tips is like my advice. If your friend knows you to be the next Grian, for example. Grian's a good builder. I like that guy. He builds good. If your friends know you as the next Grian, and they ask you for some help, don't brush them off saying, oh, why would I help you? You can't build. You're building. Well, you give them some assistance. They've asked for your help because you're good at it, clearly. And you don't need them to sit there and suck your ego off. No one cares. Evidently you care, and, you know. But you see that a lot. Like, I've been on teams of builders and stuff for creating servers. Of course, any of the ones I get never launch because poor people. That's fine, in my opinion. I don't really care. I do care when I've spent more than a few hours on it. And you'll get those people in the thing who are really bloody full of themselves. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, wow, you really did not have a childhood, did you? Because, like, they're so full of themselves. Every block they place and they think themselves as better than you, and then you show them up with a small house. That's pretty funny, actually. I did that once. I had a small house building competition with one of the guys, and I actually showed him up quite a bit with my house design, which he was not happy about. He was actually pissed. He's like, oh, how do you make that look good? I'm like, I don't look good because I'm just fucking good at this. That's how. Like, I'll admit, some people are just naturally gifted at this sort of stuff. I wouldn't say I'm the best builder, but I'm definitely above average when it comes to it. But I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the next throne to the Minecraft building throne. You know, there's a long way to the top. And when I get people who sit there all day on, like, YouTube or just in Xbox Live party chats, or even Discord. There's a few, and they sit there all day and they go, "I'm the best builder on Earth," and then I'm looking at their build and it's all made out of quartz. It's like, yeah, it's a rare block. Quartz is hard to get, I'll admit, and in theory it looks nice, but it doesn't really look nice. In fact, it looks like shit. I'm not going to say that to their face, obviously, because they've put hours into that. But I might just slip it in that I don't think that block palette's good. I don't like that block palette texture. And in genuine, you know, the way, if you don't like the block palette I'm using in this, for example, well, put that in the comments. You know, show me up if you want to. Maybe you might go spend a few hours on your own world. Show me up. Tell me this is how you build a castle with such and such and such and such block. And I'd be happy with that. Because I want to see your ideas. Alright, people? I want to see what you, the viewer, can do. Don't sit there and say, I'm better than you. Show me you're better than me. Link me in videos. Find me on Discord. I'll set up a Discord server in a bit. You know. Find me on Discord. You can't miss me. It's a very recognizable profile. A very recognizable name. Unless I've been on your server and I'm banned. You can unban me from the Iron Minion server now. I think I've learnt my lesson. No, I haven't. That's a joke. Evidently. I really do like that word. Evidently. I use that a lot. You know, obviously, because I want to see your ideas. What are your concepts? You want to think you can do better than me? Show me. I'll still compliment you on it, because if it looks good, obviously, yeah, you are better than me. No one's going to deny that, but, like, I'm not going to deny if someone comes to my Discord, posts something and says, I've spent 10 years on this world, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to say, hey, that looks really fucking cool. I'm not going to say it doesn't, like some people. And I think that's a bit weird. YouTubers don't compliment their audiences. You know, you, the viewer, you help me a lot. Seriously, you do. And that's weird. I always found that weird. YouTubers never compliment their audiences as much as I think they should, because you wouldn't be anywhere without your audience. So throw them a few nice words their way every now and again. You might need it. Evidently, I'm not saying someone stopped killing themselves because a YouTuber like fainted started his video. I shouldn't say that. Maybe not. Yeah, who cares? I'm not gonna say someone's killing themselves because fainting called a big in every video. Well, that makes you. But so sorry, faint. But what I am saying is it might make someone's day. So I think that's a nice word. Yeah, throw a dog a bone. See what he does with it. You know what I mean? That looks nice. Now, for the main bit of this castle, more mansion-esque sort of thing, I want to build like a big elevated area, which is the main spot. Now, I want to use a lot of red in this build. Evidently, I'm using a maroon colour now. And for the entrance, obviously, I'm also going to use a lot of red. Because nether brick is a very nice block for sort of these sort of stuff. It always contrasts well with, you know, maroon in general is a very nice block to work with. And so is the red nether brick and stuff. And I'd say it takes a lot to make it work well. Because, you know, it's a bit of an off colour. It's maroon. You know, thinking of the usual block palettes, you think of like, maybe like wood and like a stone. And you can contrast that in with other stuff. Maybe a different coloured roof. But when you think of a block palette of blue, black and maroon to red, it just sounds like a football team shirt. It does. It's just the truth. Yeah. it does, really. I'm sure it's probably some fucking teams thing. I don't know, I don't watch football. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in with a bit of the warp nylium to just sort of create that texture. Warp Nylium is such an interesting block. It's like a sickly blue turquoise colour. And it has a lot of potential, in my opinion. I can definitely see someone doing great things with it. But it is a bit of a hard block to use, I'll admit. I had to think for a few minutes, because I definitely... Because, you know, the Warp Forests are very appealing from an aesthetic standpoint, but actually putting that to work is definitely a challenge. You know, actually trying to find block palettes that work together well are probably one of the biggest challenges in building, I'd say. Because you can have the ideas in your mind, but putting them down on paper can be hard. This is why some people are just better. Like, you could have the ideas for the perfect house in Minecraft, with the lavish mansion that you want to live in. Now, you can get that down on paper, and it looked nice. But, you know, and it looks nice in your head, but then getting it down could be a challenge. And I feel like that's the same for this Warp Nylium sort of concept. I've been messing around with Warp Nylium since, like, it was first unveiled in the early testing. Well, this was before I started figuring out how OBS worked. And I liked some of the designs, and I didn't like others. And there's no fault to the... And there's no fault of my own, really. It's just, I wasn't thinking outside of the box. I was trying to use the blue, and I was just only using the blue. Eventually, I made the great idea to mix it in with some black. And that was like a whole big revelation. That was like a... Oh, yeah, that works. That I love. I can't do Danny DeVito's voice, but you can picture it in your head. That quite... That was sort of the realization of, that is what I want. That is the block palette which I need. And I rolled with it, and it looked really nice. And hell, that was what inspired me to build this sort of thing. It was like a small house sort of thing. I built on a server, and it looked really good, and I really liked it. Even the server mods did. They came over and looked, and they said, "Oh, that's pretty nice." Of course, I lost that competition to a guy who made a modern architecture house. Which, it's fine. It's just all quartz now. Just saying. You know, when it comes down to it, there's a big difference between the opinions and stuff which people hold and what they think is good. So I was trying to build something that I thought objectively looked good, but then it's like, I don't know what the mod team likes. When you're doing these competitions for servers, see who you like. See who you're building for is a good is a good bit of advice, because you might not like, say, modern architecture like me. I hate modern architecture. I think brutalism looks far better. But if they like modern architecture, don't go in with like brutalism. Go in with modern architecture. You'll probably win that competition. Why? Because they just like modern architecture more than brutalism. I'm using modern architecture and brutalism as an example. I think brutalism looks ugly from a stance of all brick, but like it also looks kind of cool from the same standpoint of, ooh, it's all brick. It's the peak of industrialization, and like sort of that motif of a building style. I think if you're going for any industrial, you want to use brutalism. You want to look up like Victorian England and that sort of stuff. That is like the peak of like brutalist design, because that's sort of how it all started. Even then, like, brutalism itself can be very helpful when you want to show a force, almost. Take the bill in the stadium. Not the new one, the old one, built in 36, built by the Mustache Man. That's brutalist. Now, you'll be thinking, well, what do you mean by brutalist? It's made completely out of granite. Not the granite we know in Minecraft, it's a grey one. More like andesite, really. I think picture it like andesite, but heavier. Obviously, it came from the stone was cut by people in con camps, but we're not going to talk about that. And that is like brutalism at its peak. You know what I mean? That is like, looking at that, it doesn't look nice. What it is it's a show of force. It's a complete show of, well, in you know, the case of the NSDAP, of German power. But suffice to say, you can use brutalism in other ways. Say if you're building a server and you want a very industrial sort of looking hub, brutalism is going to be your best friend for that, for a very good reason. Because brutalism is designed to look like a show of force. It's more than a show of force in a traditional sense of the way a large army might be. It's more of an architectural show of force. It's more saying, my people can build with this, and it's very intimidating to look at. Although, of course, this depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from like it's like modern art. It depends on how it's more based on how it makes you feel than it looks objectively nice. Anyway, this is the sort of the landscape I'm going for. This charred bit here is probably be like a lava moat or something. Alright then. I'd say that is a very successful first episode. You know the block palette, you know the sort of the terrain here. What I am going to do is I'm just going to finish off these windows here. You see, one thing I think, now that we have, Panes has been in the game for ages, so no one wants to use full glass blocks, which is a shame. Because using full glass blocks in something like this, with the large windows just being full glass, Panes wouldn't work here, because they sort of lip over the edge, and it doesn't give me the detail which I want. So doing something like this gives me more depth to the build, I think, and it looks better. At least I think, anyway. I don't know, it may look really ugly. I don't really know. As I say, I'm still working out the design for this massive sort of thing as I go. I do have, like, a testing world and stuff. You know, obviously, who doesn't? I think every builder has a testing world where they can test ideas. And those are very important. You should always have one of them, in my opinion. If you build even like an amateur, for example, right? I'm not saying anyone's building's amateur. I'm saying for an example, because it's how the word's used. If you would consider yourself sort of an amateur at building, then the best thing you can do for yourself is create a sketchbook world. Sort of like how an artist has a sketchbook. You can come up with ideas that you think look good, and then try them out. See if they look good or not. If they look good, you can take that into a world and roll with it. If it looks bad, at least you've tested that idea, and so it won't keep playing in your mind of, ooh, what if that does look good, where it might look objectively bad. In your opinion, anyway. You know, always keep your opinion in mind when you're building. You don't want to let other people sway your building style. That then doesn't become your building style, that becomes other people's building style. I see, because like a lot of these building YouTubers are very popular, I go onto worlds and I see people who've blatantly ripped off designs. And I don't mean as in like taking ideas. For example, using granite as a roof block, or using diorite more. B-Dubs really likes that block, and you know, I think I like that block as well, but I'm not going to just recreate his Season 6 castle and call it my own. I'm going to take inspiration, but I'm going to try and make it look as far as possible from that build. Because then that's plagiarism, really, isn't it? I mean, like, I was on a server and someone just straight up stole, what was it, Jared Craft's video? One of his houses or something, and said it was his own. And then when I brought that up, he told me to shut up in private. Yeah. I think there's like pros and cons to sort of, obviously, this sort of stuff. Obviously, if it's being built by a building YouTuber, you know it looks good. But I think there's a charm to people using their own designs, which has sort of been lost. That looks nice. Anyhow, I might call this video quits here. I've rambled on enough. Anyway, general consensus. Big video log of me building a kit PvP server. I don't know if I've already said that or if I've not. Signing off, this is episode 1. Rambling and a strange beginnings of a strange block palette. And more ramblings. Stevie Donny, signing out.